All right, guys, welcome to Natural Selection, the fifth of the five fingers of evolution. This is actually a really important concept. It's one of the most important concepts of evolution, so it's going to be split into two videos. Once you're done with both part one and part two of natural selection, there's a quiz. So make sure before you do that quiz that you've come back and retaken all of these pass-offs. You can't lower your grade. I'm keeping your highest grade on all of these pass-offs. So make sure you come back and do some reviewing before you get to that quiz, because that quiz is only getting two attempts, unless you run into some problems. If you run into some problems, just let me know on Remind, and we'll find a solution for you. All right. So natural selection. Natural selection is the idea that through natural processes, there are basically going to be winners and losers. The winners, the winning variants of this species, are going to be the ones that have the best adaptation for their environment, which ones are most suited to survive. Um, this process happens because there are winners and losers. It isn't the idea that a population can just slowly shift towards whatever is more successful. So let's say these are bacteria, and the darker the bacteria is, the more successful it is. So they start to get a little bit of darker pigments and darker pigments, darker pigments. That's not how it works. It works this way. Somebody will show up with darker pigments and they will be more successful than the ones with lighter pigments. Those lighter pigments ones will either die off or not be able to breed. And so the next generation will have a larger numbers of darker pigments. And then maybe there's a new adaptation that has even darker pigments. Well, now for sure the light ones are dying off. And then even some of these average pigment ones will die off. And so the entire, as long as being darker, having darker pigments for these bacteria or microbes is more successful, nature is going to continue to select for them and give them all the resources and select against the other individuals until you reach wherever success is. And again, nature determines that. Nature is selecting what success is, not the organisms, and not specifically a single organism. This has to happen as a population inside of an ecosystem. That ecosystem selects the best adaptations for that specific populations. And that's how we get so much variety. And that's specifically what leads to so much speciation. Because again, in any species, there's going to be a bunch of different varieties. You're going to do right after this video a little activity on pepper moths. So make sure you click through those, because those questions are going to be on the quiz and on the test. But you have to understand that peppered moths, there are two different variations of peppered moth. And it's not that one was correct and the other one was wrong. Is in specific environments, in specific situations, one was more successful than the other, because both of those variants are going to create as much of their own individuals as possible. That's being successful. And then they're going to have to compete against each other for defined resources, and they're going to have to compete against being eaten by the same predators. And whichever one of them is the most successful at getting large and not getting eaten is what's going to be selected for to pass the genes on to the next generation. So remember that there has to be variation, then this overpopulation, and then when you thin down that population, the ones that are left are the ones that have been selected for, is the variety or the variant that's being selected for. And that pressure over time will cause a significant change in the population and can lead to speciation. All right. After this, we're going to go into different types of selection. And so that'll be in part two. So just make sure you get this pass off done really quick. All right. Oh, and don't forget to do the pepper moth activity. It is going to show up on the quiz and on the test. All right. Go get it.